Welcome to the Undisputed podcast. I'm your host, Jenny Taft. This podcast is the full show from today's episode of Undisputed from start to finish. They've got a busy slate, so Skip, Shannon, let's get to it.
Welcome to Undisputed. We are live from LA. I'm Jenny Taft here with Skip Bayless and Shannon Sharp. Good morning, guys.
Good morning, Jenny. Good morning. How are you?
So today, my Dallas Cowboys get a head start on the entire NFL by holding their first camp practice out here near LA in Oxnard. Could that mean they'll be one of the last two teams playing in the Los Angeles Super Bowl this year?
First to start, first to end.
I don't know.
Your season over week 15.
Maybe longest to play. I don't know.
Week 15 you done.
Yeah.
You just finishing out the schedule.
Really?
That's all you do.
Here we
You're
go.
already saying that? I apparently put Cowboys colors on. I don't know if that's a good sign, bad sign. I'm not so sure how I feel about it. We will talk about the Cowboys in a bit. But listen to this. The director of the original Space Jam has spoken out, guys, against LeBron's new version. Joe Pica told TMZ that it took him 5 different sittings to finish the new 2-hour version movie, in addition to ripping the soundtrack and its depiction of Bugs Bunny. But perhaps his biggest target was the star, LeBron James himself, explaining that the king doesn't have the superstar je ne sais quoi that MJ had, saying, quote, "The truth is that LeBron ain't Michael."
Oof.
Shannon,
Oof.
how much do you disagree with this?
Well, I disagree with him because I like the movie. I thought the movie, I gave it a B+. Yeah, it was a little long, but it did.
He said it took him 5 sittings to get through it.
Well, I mean, maybe he's just old. Maybe his attention span isn't that long, Skip. But it seems like, to me, he has a problem with Warner Brothers because he was the original director, and maybe Warner Brothers did not invite him back to do the sequel. That's not uncommon, Skip. We've seen a lot of guys direct the first installment of it, and then they go in a different direction for the next one, whether it's creative differences or whatever the case may be. But I think at this point in time in his life, in his career, LeBron James understands one thing. I am going to receive a certain level of criticism no matter what I do. And once you realize you're not going to be able to appease everybody, nor should you attempt to, your life will be much better. And so I think that's where LeBron is in his situation, Skip. Look, this is what he said. I'm trying to figure. In 2016, this is what he said. He says, "I don't see how it could work. Plus, I don't want them to make it." That's probably the real reason, isn't it? So 5 years ago, the idea that it might come, Skip, LeBron
He said that Dwight Howard and company came to him and said, "How about Dwight as the Jordan figure?" Yeah, go ahead.
It's Skip. LeBron James is every bit big today as Jordan was back then. He's the equivalent, Skip. He's this generation's Michael Jordan. Now, you might not like you might not like what he stands for. You might not like his game is not as flashy as Mike. But he is, to say the je ne sais quoi, what are you talking about? It seems to me that, man, people, I think, to make a long story short, Skip, I think a lot of people just have, no matter what LeBron does, they're going to have a problem with it. And there's this fraction of people over here that's in Jordan's camp. And anything that LeBron does, Jordan did it better. Jordan
So it's
did
just a little fraction.
Well, no, I'm just saying, fraction. I mean, you got 7 billion people.
Okay,
I mean,
right.
Let's just say there's 800 million, or however the case may be, Skip. There's a people over there that's never going to side with LeBron because they're in Jordan's camp. And that's just the way it is. And I think LeBron's okay with that. But to go out of your way to try to offer a harsh critique, okay, fine, I didn't like the movie. But it seems to me it got a little personal. Skip, if I don't like a movie, okay, I don't like the movie. I didn't like that. But to take personal shots at the actors, I think that was a little out of the way, unnecessary. That's his opinion. It's well within his right to say that, but I disagree with him.
Okay. As I read these quotes last night, my thought was obviously my sentiments exactly. I couldn't have said it better because I said it before he said it. It's not that I'm trying to pick apart the remaking of the movie, the plot twists that they threw in, however the subplots, whatever plots. For me, it's simply that LeBron is not Michael.
He didn't have to be, Skip, see?
Okay, but that's just me. And I told you, let's see, we did it Monday. So I told you Tuesday that after I slept on it and I reflect on it, I have no problem with LeBron until you keep putting him in the Jordan context. Like, I'm great with LeBron. He's obviously all-time great. I always tell you he's a good guy and family man. We go on. I love, and as a social justice crusader, there's never been anything like him. And I give up all that to him. But as soon as you put him in, he's better than Jordan category, I'm outraged because he's just not. And now we get to making a movie that revolves strictly around Michael Jordan in 1996. He was the centerpiece. He was the son of that movie. He was the SUN son. He was the force field in that movie from start to finish. And what did I tell you Monday in critiquing is that he was much better at playing himself than LeBron was at playing himself. I also gave in to you to say they had a plot twist involving his second son. Wasn't actually played by his second son, but in the movie, he's his second son.
Correct.
That was pretty deep about parenting and fatherhood and how you treat your sons. And you were deeply affected by it because it sort of impacted you with your son who had just got married on Saturday.
Correct.
And you watched the movie on Sunday.
Correct.
So it's dear to your heart.
Right.
And it was very emotional for you. And my point was, man, you're asking LeBron to do a whole lot of acting that it's not his first job. It's not what he's been practicing all his life to do. And now you're asking him to go deep as an actor in ways I didn't think he could pull off, and he didn't pull it off.
Skip, you make it seem like Jordan, his performance was Chadwick Boseman in Black Panther. He wasn't even stopping.
Boy, he was a great Michael Jordan. And again, remember what I did. I watched this Space Jam, LeBron Space Jam on Friday night, and I turned right around on Saturday night, and I watched Jordan's again. I don't know how many times I've seen it before, but I needed to get it fresh in my head. And it was shocking to my eyes and to my senses how great Jordan was. He's so comfortable. He was so cool. He was so funny. He owned it, but he owned himself in the part. He dominated that movie in ways LeBron was not able to dominate because I thought LeBron came across oftentimes as wooden, as if he was acting for the first time in a high school play. It didn't ring true to me. Again, it's Jordan versus LeBron in charisma. And let's go back to what Joe Pytka, the original director, said. He said, I've worked with 3 people that have this magical quality, whatever you want to define it as, charisma, star power, I don't know, magnetism. And he said the 3 people are Michael Jordan, Michael Jackson, and Madonna. And he said there's never been anything like those 3 where you just immediately, without understanding anything about them, you gravitated to them. They took over rooms. And
so you don't think LeBron can take over a room?
Not like Jordan can. And again,
but see that's the thing. He can take over a room, but not like Jordan. Well, he can play basketball, but not like Jordan.
Well,
he can sell sneakers, but not like Jordan. Skip, it's okay.
Well, no, it's okay for LeBron to be second best. It's just okay. It's okay.
That's what you wanted to be.
Okay.
But some people say he's not second best.
All right, I'm going to finish Joe Pytka's quote. So he says, in the end, LeBron is a great basketball player, blah, blah, blah. He goes on and on about what a great basketball player is, but he says he is not Michael, not as a basketball player or as an actor. Maybe they should call this movie something else, said Joe Pytka. My wife, Ernestine, turned to me as soon as we watched the Friday night, this new Space Jam, and she said, whoa, why did they have to call it Space Jam? What's it, the New Legacy?
Right.
She said, why didn't they just rename it? Just do it. Do your own brand of it. Don't call it Space Jam.
Warner Brothers didn't want to do that.
Okay, but you could. You have enough star power on your own. You have enough box office power because you have 142 million followers on social media that you could have just said, let's go a different direction.
Well, Warner Brothers has $242 billion.
Okay.
Because we've seen this before. We've seen companies says, okay, this is the direction that we want to go in. And the actor says, that's not the direction that I want to go in. And it says, okay, we'll find somebody that wants to go in the direction that we want to. So Warner Brothers, LeBron wanted to do the movie. Warner Brothers wanted to take the movie in the direction. They saw LeBron says, okay, let's take it in a different direction. Let's make it family-oriented. Let's make it about a father and his son, and about what the father wants that might not be what the son wants. But see, because it wasn't like directly followed Jordan, it wasn't directly basketball themed, although basketball was very important because LeBron wanted his son to be like him and take basketball serious. His son wanted to do computer. He wanted to do gaming. I got it.
But in the end, LeBron, like Jordan, becomes a cartoon. He goes into the toon world and he plays a basketball game against the villainous, whatever you want to call them, Monstars or Goon Squad.
Correct.
Okay?
Yes.
So it's still, the motif is the same.
Yes.
It's just you take this framework and you're going to go in a little different subplot direction within the framework, but in the end, he goes into the cartoon world and saves the cartoon world from the evil forces.
One situation is about a family. The other situation says, look, I took up all this time and I can still beat those players there. That's what that was about. That's totally the Skip. That's a totally different plot line.
All right. I defy anybody, and I challenged everybody Monday. I challenge you to watch those two movies back to back and tell me that Jordan doesn't have more charisma in his movie than LeBron does in his. And again, maybe it's the director's fault in this movie, or not. It's the script's fault. It's 2 hours long. It's way too long. It's over long, and you kind of lose sight of what the message is after a while, because it just the basketball game at the end takes like an hour to play. It's endless on film. I was dozing off in it. It just went on so long.
But here's the thing, Skip. When you're playing a role and you're being a parent, maybe charisma is not what you're trying to showcase on the screen.
All right, I got it. But here's, in the end, there's a recent LeBron quote I'm going to read back to you, and it's the essence of my issue with this. LeBron said recently, in my younger days, part of my thinking was, Space Jam was so good, how can I top this? Okay, that's a good thought. That's a safe thought to me, because I told you, LeBron, I've warned him again and again, don't try to be or beat Michael Jordan, because that is the GOAT to me. Now, you'd say otherwise, but that's, you're going to bite off a little more than you can chew if you try to beat him on and off the court. That's just me. But he goes on to say, in this recent quote, there's always going to be conversations about LeBron trying to do everything Michael did, okay? But I've gotten older, and you know who you are, he means, as I got older. You know what you stand for. It's something Mike created, and it is his. I held that with a lot of responsibility. Okay, what did I tell you Tuesday? What offends me the deepest is LeBron's, what I believe is delusional audacity to say, I can do this. I can take his movie and I can make it better than he did. And it's another way he's trying to convince what I call the blind witnesses out there, and there are billions of them, 142 million social media followers, trying to convince them by telling them you're the greatest. You can't show them, because it's hard to defeat 6-0 in the finals with 6 MVPs when you are now 4-6 in the finals.
But see, will you take it back, and that's the only thing that you use? Well, if it's all about rings, shouldn't Bill Russell be the GOAT that's 11-1?
All right, but 6 MVPs, and you can go on and
Russell
on about...
Russell has 5 MVPs, and back then, before Russell, they really didn't give the finals MVP until 1969, which was Russell's last finals.
Okay, but don't we look back at those times as almost prehistoric NBA times?
But it happened.
Okay,
everybody
it did. All right.
Skip, you got to realize, they didn't count block shots until 1973, 74. Were they blocking shots? They didn't give assists. Were they not assisting the basketball? Were they not stealing the basketball? So just like the sacks didn't become an official stat until 82, if I'm not mistaken. Did they not sack the quarterback prior to 1982?
Sure.
Also, so should they not get credit for that?
Okay. Bill Russell was a great player, but he's as tall as LeBron. He's 6'9" to LeBron's 6'9".
But Skip,
that's the evolution of basketball.
Let this sink in. People are upset. You are offended by LeBron thinking he has the audacity to do something that LeBron did. Imagine me being upset or offended that someone tried to do something like somebody. I don't care. You get upset when you were sincerely upset by that. And it's like LeBron, because like, you know what, guys? I got it in the next. Breaking news, LeBron James has an announcement. I have a cure for COVID. What took you so long? You had to let 600,000 people die before you come up with a cure? That's what y'all say. Michael Jordan would have had that thing 2 years ago. That's what y'all do to LeBron. It's always Michael could have done it better. Michael did it first. Okay, Skip, just because somebody did it first, that doesn't mean they did it better.
Think about this. This man, Michael Jordan, is still selling his sneaker brand.
Yes.
To 8-year-olds.
Yes.
They want Jordans.
Yes.
They might want LeBrons in some cases, but in the largest case, they want Jordans before they want LeBrons.
Yes.
That's impossibly great, right?
Yes.
The lasting star power of that, it lives on even today.
Right.
LeBron can't sell sneakers the way Jordan still sells sneakers.
No, Skip. And guess what? They still sell cell phones. AT&T was here first. But that doesn't mean Google couldn't come along. Google created a cell phone also. There are other companies that created things also, Skip. Just because you did it first doesn't mean someone else. Just imagine if somebody just created the first thing and nobody said, nah, we good, that's it. What?
Okay. This is just me. I don't care if he created it first or created it fifth or sixth or seventh. I don't. I just know he was better. And I just know his star power. Now, again, I was around him a lot, so I felt it, and I know it better. I have not been around LeBron a lot. I've observed him very closely, and I know a lot of people around him very well. So I think I have a pretty good sense of LeBron, and I have a great sense of Jordan. You have been around Jordan enough to know.
Yes.
You want to talk special?
Oh, Skip, I'm not denying that. Everybody that I've ever talked to, he doesn't seem real. He seems like he's levitating. He seems like he's a Buddha or a ghost or something.
It does seem like he's levitating in the same room that you're in.
I won't deny that. I mean, I don't know. Like I said, I've never been around Tiger Woods. Maybe Tiger Woods possessed that characteristic. I haven't been around. You know, I'm sure Michael Jackson. I'm sure there being people maybe Elvis had that also. Skip, I don't know, but I've been around Michael a little bit, and he's the only guy that ever been around that didn't seem real.
So I appreciate what Pitka said about the three entertainers, the three superstars he's been around. I saw Michael Jackson once in concert from the second row. I saw Madonna in concert twice from maybe the third or fourth row. So I was close enough where I could absorb the charisma, the star power, and I'm good with this. I think that's an apt comparison. So there's something that you can't teach or coach. You either have it or you don't. And you can't talk yourself into having it. And it's magnetism that Michael had so comfortably on screen that I didn't get from LeBron. And again, they made a great big movie as far as they threw a bunch of money at it. And I give you, the plot twists I thought they were a little weird for being in a cartoon, but they made it a little different within the confines of the same sort of format as the first one.
I might need to go watch Space Jam again, because you're putting Jordan and you make it seem like he's Jim Brown in acting. You make it seem like he's one of these Denzel, like he's he's giving you Othello or something.
No, but go watch it. I dare you to.
I'm like,
you want to talk about comfort level? He just takes it over immediately, and he's cool with it. There's nothing. LeBron was trying so hard to act. It's like, look, Ma, I'm acting. Watch this.
I gotta act. I gotta play a part, but I'm also being a father.
Okay. And again, maybe that's too much to ask of a LeBron who's not an experienced actor. Obviously, Jordan was completely inexperienced as an actor.
Yeah.
He just stepped into the middle of it, and the whole thing revolves even more around him in the original than it evolves around LeBron.
And plus,
remember, there was no Don Cheadle in the first one. Don Cheadle is a superstar to me. He's right up there with Denzel to me in sheer ability to act. He can do anything. He's done.
He has range. Yes.
Yeah, huge range, and again, he's so great at it that he's almost too likable to be a villain, even though he played the villain great. I liked him. I didn't hate him at all. I didn't fear him because he's Don Cheadle. And I like Don Cheadle. And I told you that movie that's out right now, No Sudden Move, he actually plays a very lovable criminal, a guy who just got out of prison and falls into a situation that, look out. And he pulls it off where you're rooting for the guy who just got out of prison. Well, that's Don Cheadle's power. Okay, so Don Cheadle helped drive this movie because he's the co-star with LeBron, right? I don't know who has the most lines in the movie, but it might be close between.
Skip, he's a villain, so there has to be, when you're doing a hero and a villain, obviously LeBron is going to be the hero. You have to have a villain, and so Don Cheadle did a great job of playing the villain. Okay, Skip, but this notion that because Michael Jordan was in a movie, so I guess guys shouldn't do shoes. Kevin Durant and Kyrie and LeBron and anybody that have the shoe shouldn't do a shoe because they're never going to surpass Michael Jordan, so don't do shoes. Well, you shouldn't do beverage commercials because Michael Jordan did Gatorade.
But none of those guys ever suggested, I'm going to be better than Jordan. Not one of them. LeBron does nothing but suggest, I got this. And in that quote I read you, what he's saying is, you know, I held up everything that Michael created with a lot of responsibility. He's saying to you, it was time for him to pass the torch to me and for me to make my Space Jam. Well, that's what it is.
He said, I felt that if I was going to do the movie, I needed to do it justice because Mike put his stamp on it, and I need to hold it. Just because they don't say it publicly. You don't think Kevin Durant and Dame and Steph Curry are trying to be the greatest basketballs ever, players ever, just because they don't say it publicly?
Do you think in Kevin Durant's heart of hearts that he thinks he's better than Michael Jordan? I do not.
Yeah.
I do not. And I know LeBron is trying to convince himself.
So let me ask you a question. When Tom Brady started out, what was Tom Brady hoping to do? So Tom Brady says, you know what? I'm just 6 rounds.
You just went to the GOAT of GOATs.
Time out, Skip, time out. If you say he's the GOAT now, he wasn't the GOAT when he started. So Tom Brady says, you know what? Man, Montana got 4 Super Bowl rings. He's 3-time MVP. He's won MVPs. Man, I can never do that. So let me be a 6th round draft pick and let me stay in my place. Is that the way he think? Is that the way he thought?
No, obviously not. And
Why not?
Maybe when Kevin Durant was drafted, he's thinking, one day I got to try to be better than Jordan. Maybe someday I will be.
Right.
Do you think Kevin Durant, after what are we up to now? 12,
13.
He's going to 14 next year. Do you think right now he thinks I've done enough that I'm better than Jordan? No, he doesn't think that. Not for one second. But LeBron said 2 years ago, that right there made me the greatest player ever when they came back from 3-1 down in the finals.
Well, Skip, that's his opinion. Why is he entitled to? Just like you said, Jordan is the GOAT. That's your opinion. Some people believe that it is LeBron.
I don't know how, and I don't know how anybody could watch The Last Dance and not say, it's over.
Skip, so let me ask you a question. 20 years from now, when LeBron James package his things together that only show his crowning achievements, what do you think people going to say? I don't know how they say he's not the GOAT. That's what you do. You package, Skip. If I want to chronicle my life and put the adversity that I overcame and all the great things that I did, hell, I might get a Nobel Peace Prize.
Are they going to put the 2011 finals in that package?
Yes.
Really?
Yes.
It was the all-time superstar meltdown. You're disqualified from being the GOAT.
Just like they put those first 10 playoff games, that he only won one of them, and he got swept twice in the first round. They didn't put that in there.
The one in which Larry Bird said, that's God disguised as Michael Jordan?
But
really?
He lost. You see what you did?
I did what Larry Bird did. Now, he saw it coming. He said, that's God.
I remember it was probably about 6 years ago, that Devin Booker scored 70 points, and he held up a sign, and everybody reamed him because he lost. Michael Jordan is the only guy that can lose and still get elevated. Nobody else can do that. Kevin Durant doesn't get elevated when he loses. LeBron doesn't get elevated when he loses. Steph Curry, you cream when he lost. Michael Jordan is the only guy in the history of sports that can lose and get elevated. I just want to know how and why.
He went 6-0 in the finals with 6 MVPs. And he walked it off in Utah in Game 6 with Scottie Pippen sick and hurt.
I just want to know. So
game over.
I could have swore they started playing finals in the 50s. So when did they start just playing finals? 91 through 2021. So they only been playing finals for 30 years. So what did Russell win? What did those other guys win back in the 70s, 80s, and 60s?
LeBron's lost 6 finals.
No mercy.
The Cowboys have their first practice of training camp today, and Jerry Jones spoke to the media yesterday during the team's opening press conference. Jerry covered a lot, but he spoke a lot about getting another Lombardi trophy. Franchise's Super Bowl drought is now more than 25 years long, something that is definitely bothering Jerry, who told reporters, quote, I do anything known to man to get to a Super Bowl. That's a fact. Yes, we know that. Shannon, why haven't the Cowboys been back to the Super Bowl in 25 years? Answer it for me.
Jerry Jones. Skip, Jerry Jones wants all the credit for the success and none of the blames for its failure. If you look at who he had, and we're going to talk about this later, he could have been the Patriots before the Patriots became the Patriots. Oh, yeah. You know he had a 25-year-old Emmett, a 26-year-old Michael Irvin, a 26-year-old Troy Aikman coming out back-to-back Super Bowls. That's what he had.
He did.
So, and a Charles Haley still in his prime, and he had just went and got Deion Sanders. So
he also had one of the most dynamic young coaches I've ever been around.
Yes.
His name was Jimmy Johnson.
And everybody talk about that Cowboy offensive line. Where in 2014 and 15 and 16, the offensive line, they couldn't hold a candle to what they had. But anyway, Skip, it's Jerry. Jerry is under the belief is that, and what he's never done since he's had it, Jimmy or Bill Parcells, was empower his coaches. Dave Campo, Chan Gailey, Jason Garrett, Barry Switzer, Wade Phillips never had the kind of power that Jimmy Johnson had. And Jerry wanted the credit because, see, Jerry...
I think Parcells, he tried.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Parcells, right, I think that's why I didn't put Parcells on the list. But Parcells said, I'm up out of here. I can't deal with you because you told me I was going to be able to do certain things, and here it is. You said I was going to have control. I was going to be able to... The free agents, I was going to have a draft. I told you I didn't want the guy, but you wouldn't put him on the team anyway. So
Terrell Owens.
Yeah, he didn't want T.O.
No.
Jerry wanted T.O. T.O.'s box office. Like I said, Jerry won commas. Jerry didn't want Lombardi. And the thing is, Skip, at the end of the day, is that, okay, you do anything, how about get out the way? How about stay out of the way? You see, Skip, if you think about it, the coaches, Skip, every guy that they released during the season last year, why were they on that team? Jerry put them there. Jerry's made it abundantly clear. We sit around the table, but the buck stops with me until we don't get the Super Bowls, and then it's everybody else's fault. Jerry is the reason because Jerry wants the success. He should have been smart like Mr. Kraft. Mr. Kraft just sit back, sign the checks, and reap the rewards. That's 6 Super Bowls in about 2 decades.
Yep.
I don't know if that's ever going to be matched again. But Skip, Jerry's the reason. Jerry knows he's the reason. Jerry's, I'll do anything for a Super Bowl, but I still got to be Jerry. I still got to dress the team before the coach does. I still got to do my press conferences. I still got to have my radio shows. I got to do all that. Now, I ain't willing to give up any of that to get the Super Bowl. But now, if I can still do that and get a Super Bowl, man, that show would mean a lot to me. But if I noticed over the last couple of years, Skip, Jerry's become very, very reflective. I hope everything is okay with Jerry because he's been speaking a lot, it seems to me, with his understanding his mortality. I get uncomfortable when people start speaking in those terms because, there's power in the tongue. Sometimes you can speak things into existence.
I agree with that. And he has done more and more of that.
Yes.
As if my window in my life is closing.
Yes.
Okay. Before I launch on this, my Dallas Cowboys, and a guy I know very well, Jerry Jones, the gravity of this hit me earlier this morning before the show when I started to look harder and harder at what Jerry has not accomplished since 1995. And I'll give him some credit. With Barry Switzer, he did win one more Super Bowl. They missed a year in 94, obviously, where they lost the NFC Championship game at Candlestick in San Francisco.
I believe they got Jimmy. They ain't losing that game. I'm just saying. I don't believe they lose that game with Jimmy.
You're almost certainly right, although Emmett had a bad
hamstring. He tweaked his hamstring.
He did, but whatever. I am with you on that. It was Barry Switzer's first go-around, and he got a big 15-yard penalty arguing a call that was a bad call on
Deion and Michael Irvin down the sideline.
But given it's been 25 years, here's the gravity for me. Jerry Jones run teams in the last 25 years have made the playoffs 10 times in 25 years. Only 10 times have they even made the playoffs.
Made it.
They have missed 3 of the last 4 years, just for the record.
Right.
So that's what I'm dealing with right here, right now. But in those 10 years they did make the playoffs, only 4 times in 10 years did they win a playoff game.
Correct.
And not one time in 10 years making the playoffs did they ever win 2 in one season. Okay? So it's just one-offs 4 out of 10 times in 25 years. And obviously, not once in 25 years have they even sniffed the NFC Championship game.
No.
That's devastating. That's, for me as a fan, just in the Cowboy Nation realm, that's just tragic. How can you be the architect of this tragedy that has befallen Cowboy Nation, Jerry? And he has the audacity yesterday to say, I'd do anything known to man to get to a Super Bowl. Not to win it, just to win the NFC and get back to a Super Bowl. I'll do anything known to man. False. Wrong. I call you on this. Because there's one thing you will not do. Fire yourself and go spend top dollar, whatever it takes to hire the best football man out there to be the architect of your football team, because that would force you up into your box permanently, where you would have to keep an arm's length, where you would have no more control. You would not own and operate the Dallas Cowboys. You would just own them. Period. End of story. You would have to hire somebody and contractually give him full rights, autonomy to make every last decision. The buck stops on his desk, not yours. You could keep, the guy could keep you in the loop, but still, it's his choice. That's the only way to do this, is to go get a real, live, proven football man to rebuild this in the correct way.
And you let him keep those business cards that have all those titles on it, CEO and VP. You keep the business card, but in theory, someone else runs the team.
And he would have to hire the coach, and he would have to ultimately have control over selecting the players, free agents and draftees. Jerry ain't going to do that.
No, he's not.
Till death do him part. Yes. And I'm knocking on wood for Jerry. I hate to even let the words go out there into the universe. But he lives to run this team.
Yes.
It's all he cares about.
Yes.
And I thought the most compelling quote, remember, Jerry was near tears several times. He spoke for about an hour out in Oxnard. This is their annual State of the Union.
It was a little rambly at times.
It's a little scary, crazy at times, because he went into some Jerry speak that I hadn't heard before. Like, what? I don't even know what that means. But Jerry was rambling, and Jerry was getting choked up, and Jerry was getting teary-eyed, and Jerry was close to just flat out blubbering, where you just break down and start crying before the world to see. And later he was asked about why is he so emotional or over-emotional, and he said, I'm going to read the quote, "What you're seeing is just how good it feels to be here. Doggone," he said, "just as much as I enjoy this stuff, I get to thinking, well, are you ever going to see that again?" Because of the pandemic, he faced a whole offseason of, we barely got through last season, and now it's starting to come back a little bit here and there. We got variants out there, and he's starting to wonder, is it ever going to be the same again?
But Skip, here's the thing. Jerry knows the pandemic impacts people differently. Jerry wasn't impacted by the pandemic. Jerry lived in Texas. They ain't shut down nothing.
Yeah, but again, the media was restricted. Jerry lives for the media.
Contact. He still can do Zoom.
What I'm saying, you took Jerry and put him on Zoom. How many times last year after games did Jerry stand in the hallway at Jerry World doing a big press session, a media session with 95 reporters ganged up around him? How many times did he do? Well, you couldn't do it anymore. So I think he was facing his celebrity mortality, because he's saying, are you ever going to see that again? He says, last line, he's told them yesterday, I was wondering, are you ever going to be sitting up here talking to everybody again? He's just talking about the ability to do press conferences being threatened, is being threatened.
What Jerry's coming to grips with, am I ever going to be able to sit up here again and have another Lombardi trophy sitting to my right? That's what he's talking about.
Okay,
Skip.
No, but you're missing this point. He concludes by saying, I'm not going to apologize for what I'm saying, but I am sensitive today and emotional about the whole show. Well, listen, you say he likes the commas more than the W's, right? Yes. Okay, the commas come from promoting the Dallas Cowboys into the most valuable franchise, not in American sports, in the world.
I know, but Skip, think about this.
He is the hype master.
Yes. He's P.T. Barnum.
And all he cares about in the end is his own celebrity.
Yes.
He is the most famous owner in the history of sports, beyond George Steinbrenner, anybody you want to throw out, right?
Yes, I'll agree. I'll give you that.
And he has 2 radio shows a week and does a press conference after every home game, and he's crying over. I wondered if it would ever come back where I could sit up here and all the world would be listening and hanging on to my every word.
It's almost like, Skip, a guy goes through a catastrophic injury, and then he gets back to the top of where he once was. Let's take Kevin Durant. Kevin Durant got back to where he was playing. Like you didn't know, if someone didn't tell you Kevin Durant had ruptured his Achilles,
that is
you
correct.
wouldn't know. Jerry wants to get back, Skip. In his first 5 years, Skip, he had 2 Super Bowls.
I got it.
And think about how good am I ever going to hold one of those things again? Am I ever going to be that again?
Okay, but has he been any less famous over the last 25 years without a Super Bowl?
That's my point. That's my point. America loves winners. Skip, we love winners.
I know, it always drives you crazy. You say, America's team, what have you won?
We love winners. We celebrate winners. We don't celebrate guys that get 5th place at the Olympics. We celebrate guys that get the gold medal, at least get a medal, and we really celebrate guys that get gold medals, or women that get gold medals. Jerry, like you just said, they've only been to the playoffs 10 times, and 4 of those 10 times they won 1 game. They've never won 2 in the same playoff
in 25
season.
years. Yep. There you go.
And remember, Skip, they were steamrolling folks.
Steamrolling.
Those back-to-back Super Bowls, it wasn't no walk-off field goal. The Cowboys win off walk-off field goal. They were rolling people.
I was there. Mismatches.
And Jerry's like, damn. Mr. Kraft said, I wasn't no fool to mess this up. He called him Billy. Me and Billy had some, hey.
Okay, we're going to talk about this later, but it's almost like he and his son, Steven, are now on a new mission to eat humble pie before the masses, to say, okay, we give up. We screwed it up. I screwed it up with Jimmy, and Steven is saying, we screwed it up with Dak. We should have signed him the first go-around, and we didn't. And Steven is saying, that's my lone regret in operating the Dallas Cowboys. So they're eating humble pie to try to buy some patience and some hope from their faithful, because fans are getting a little antsy here.
Yes.
And at least now the fans can sit back and say, well, at least they're owning it. At least they're asking for forgiveness.
We see teams, Tampa, Kansas City hadn't won a Super Bowl in 50 years. We see 50 years and they winning. And Jerry's like, hold on.
And by the way, they're set up to win some more.
To win some more.
Yeah.
But if I didn't tell you his name, you wouldn't know Clark. I mean, I know Clark Hunt, and a lot of these owners you don't even know because they choose to have it that way.
That is
not
correct.
Jerry wants to be the face of his franchise. Most teams want the quarterback to be the face.
Like, we're going to talk about Brady at the White House, but I noticed that Arians went and the owner went. It was one of the Glazers. I never see the Glazers.
No,
I think it's Brian Glazer.
I have no idea.
I don't even know who he is. Have you ever seen him? I couldn't pick him out of a lineup.
And guess what? I don't even know if Bruce talked. The owner talked for like a second, and then Tom took the mic. Tom was like he was the host of the gig.
Yeah.
You think that'd be Jerry?
You mean stand-up comic Tom Brady? That guy? Okay.
Do you think that'd be Jerry? You think Jerry would have passed the mic to Dak?
He just would have grabbed it and held it.
Jerry would have been having the thing. He'd have been walking around, talking to everybody. Yeah, how you doing?
Well, that's what he lives for.
Yes.
That's what he won't sacrifice for a Super Bowl.
Skip, you know Jerry's always the center of attention. Everywhere he goes is Jerry. He doesn't meet a straight. He is the most personable, likable man you're going to meet. You're not going to be somewhere. You're in the rest. There's a good chance if you're in a restaurant and Jerry Jones shows up, your meal's going to be free. Your drink's going to be free because that's how he is.
Yeah. And yet he concluded yesterday, he said, he talks a lot about, you can condemn me for being a cockeyed optimist, but he said, I still think there's a pony in there somewhere. And I'm like, a pony in there? That's Jerry speak. That's Arkansas. There's something good in there, right? I still got a Super Bowl in there somewhere, and I'm clinging to the belief that it's still in there somewhere.
Everybody loves ponies. So.
Yeah, okay.
I will always remain fascinated by Jerry Jones every single time. Guys, yes, it is football season, but how about this Lakers update? They're reportedly looking to upgrade their roster with a veteran point guard. And one name that has come up internally is Russell Westbrook. The purple and gold would need to work out a sign-and trade to acquire the LA native and former MVP from Washington. And the team has explored if a deal centered around Dennis Schroeder, Kyle Kuzma, and THT would do the trick. So, Shannon, would Westbrook work with LeBron and AD? What do you make of it?
Skip, I think Westbrook is still playing at a very, very high level. But I believe there are better fits for what the Lakers need. Now, I don't believe these guys are better. Lonzo Ball, Mike Conley, Kyle Lowry, Malcolm Brogdon. I don't believe these guys are better than Russ as an individual player. But in the team, Chris Paul would be a better fit. I'm not saying I wouldn't go 3 years, but I believe next year, Chris Paul would be a better fit than Russ.
I agree.
That's just where I am. And Skip, I get it. He's an LA native. Russ plays hard, but Russ can only play his way. Remember, he wanted out of Houston. He says, I got to get back to playing Russ. Well, now if he's going to, like James Harden. James Harden played a particular way in Houston, but he got with 2 other superstars and says, I can no longer play that way. He bought into a system. The question is, could Russ buy into a system, or is Russ the system? That's my only point. I think he's phenomenal. He plays hard. He doesn't shortchange it. He and Giannis might be the two hardest players on a nightly basis, and you'll find in the NBA. But for what the Lakers need, Skip, look, people like shooting. I don't know if anybody noticed this, but I'm going to break it to you. You do realize the last two teams that won the championship didn't shoot the three ball very well. The Lakers in the bubble and the Bucs were awful. So there's no, you got to shoot three. You got to shoot three. No. If you got size and you can dominate the boards, which the Lakers dominated the Heat, which the Bucs dominated the Sun, guess what? Ta-da, you win. So everybody, this notion about you need three-point shots to win, Skip, but at some point in time, you're going to have to shoot some threes. Skip, Russ shot 31%. Russ in his career is a 31% three-point shooter.
Yep.
He shot 31.5 last year.
30.5. Oh, his career.
Yeah, his career 30.5. Yeah. He was a tick above his career at 31.5 last year. Skip, I don't get this. I really don't. And like I said, I like Russ. I think he's a phenomenal talent.
Yeah.
But I don't think he's the right person in this situation for the Lakers.
Okay. I want everybody out there in viewerland to try to grasp this concept. I agree with every word you just spoke, but think about this. We're talking about a first ballot Hall of Famer, Russell Westbrook, who is 32 years of age, and again, next year will be year 14, but he's not playing old at all.
Right.
We're talking about a man who once again last year for Washington averaged a triple-double. 22, 12, and 12.
Right.
We're talking about a man whose 12 assists a game last year led the NBA. We're talking about a man who 3 of the last 4 years has led the NBA in assists. That man, Russell Westbrook, lock first ballot Hall of Famer, right?
Yeah.
Is a bad fit for LeBron James and Anthony Davis. And he just is.
Yes.
Because I think I'm on solid ground saying there's never been any player like Russell Westbrook. You brought up Giannis. He's a miniature Giannis in effort, except there's one big difference. His effort is only on offense.
Right.
Giannis's effort is full court both ways, both sides of the ball, as hard as he can play offense and defense, every last dribble. Russell Westbrook plays all out with a rage hard on offense. He has a rage to star more than to win, to me. And oftentimes, he manages to sacrifice winning the basketball game for getting his stats. And he is the all-time stat machine. I mean, for the last 5 seasons, he's averaged a triple-double.
Those 12 rebounds.
We thought it was impossible.
And the 12 rebounds, Skip, got to put him in like top 5, top 7 as far as rebounding, and he's a point guard.
Okay, he's a point guard. And yet, he would be a terrible fit to me for a LeBron James, who is still the best passer in basketball. Russell Westbrook has figured out how to get his big men involved where he drives it, and if he doesn't think he can get to the foul line or get to the rim, he'll just leave it on the floor for a big man to take one bounce with it and dunk it.
Right.
So he realized if I do that enough, I can I can lead the NBA in assists. But I never feel like Russ is running the offense, quarterbacking the show, getting everybody the perfect shot at the perfect moment.
Right.
It doesn't feel Chris Paul-ish to me at all.
No.
It doesn't feel LeBron-ish at all to me, because LeBron has genius about, I got to get him a shot at this point, at this stage of the game, where I'm going to hit Kyle Kuzma right in the shooting pocket with the perfect skip pass all the way across court. I'm going to hit him right there so he can just sit and fire and make that three. That's LeBron's genius. He has great court vision and anticipation. This is all hard for Russ. He has to force the assists, and he forces the rebounds. And you can't tell me that the rebounds hurt their team, because they don't. But a lot of times he's taking rebounds away from bigs because he just out-hustled them to the basketball, And he wants free throw rebounds, which sometimes are a little cheap, right? So the point is, he's a bad fit because he's not a point guard. He's a scorer, and he has led this league in scoring twice. He's led the whole league in scoring twice, but he can't shoot. Well, that's kind of Giannis-like, right? Well, he can't shoot because he's always been a terrible three-point shooter. He's still, at least Giannis doesn't take that many threes.
Right.
You blast him when he takes any at all.
Anything over 1 is too many.
Okay.
Anything over 0 actually is too many for Giannis.
Well, Russ is up there in the middle of the pack and taking threes. But to your point, last year he averaged a triple-double and shot 32% from three. That ranked 150th of 156 players. 150th, well, that's a liability to me.
Right.
Then his free throws have come and gone, and he's up there around mid-70s his career. But last year he shot 66% from the free throw line. Well, that won't work. If you're the point guard and you're getting to the line so many times, that ranked 103rd of 110 free throw shooters. So look at this. Three-point and free throw shooting, he is at the bottom of the barrel in both categories, which undercuts the team's ability to win, which is why the team last year, they rallied late and they finished 34 and 38. 34. So they're 4 games under 500. And in the first round, they had to win the second play-in game, remember, against Indy, right?
Right.
And yet Philly knocked them out in 5 games. In the Philly 5-game series, Russ shot 33% from the floor. From the floor. Well, that's Giannis awful. Just shot 62% from the floor, right?
Correct. Yes.
Okay, so it won't work. And he also averaged 4 turnovers. And he has led the league in turnovers repeatedly because he's going to be high risk, high turnover.
Skip, you and I say, and we're not saying that Russ isn't a great player.
No. I give in. He's a first ballot Hall of Famer just on stat achievements.
But I believe there are better fits. I believe Mike Conley is a much better fit.
Totally agree.
Kyle Lowry is a much better fit. Brogdon or Lonzo Ball, Chris Paul, obviously Chris Paul, we know Chris Paul. Chris Paul is a fit anywhere.
Yep, he is.
Those are better
Although
fits.
he has clashed with his fellow stars, Blake Griffin, James Harden.
Right.
He wouldn't obviously clash with LeBron because they're very close.
And they play, their games are very similar. They like to control the pace of the game. But I just believe there are better fits for LeBron and AD to get them to ultimately where they want to be. I just don't think the Russ is a great fit for the Lakers.
Well, obviously not, because he demands the basketball. He's going to be high usage rate. He's always close to, he's always top 3, and he might be top 1 in how much time he's got the ball in his hands. And then why did Kevin Durant say, I can't do this with Russell Westbrook? Why did he join forces with the Golden State Warriors after they had the Warriors down 3 games to 1? I told you, I know this firsthand from a source very close to Kevin. He decided, I'm going into year 10 next year, that was his first year in Golden State. I can't win a championship with Russ as my primary decision maker, because Russ is going to dribble the ball up the floor, and it's going to be his choice. Am I going to go, or am I going to just flip it over to you, standing over here on the wing, and let you try to create a shot, right? And in the end, Russ he's like got that bull in China shop mentality. I got the ball. I see the basket. I'm going to go. I'm just going to go. I'm going to run through that brick wall and that brick wall. You can set all the brick walls you want for me. I'm going to get to the rim, or I'll get to the free throw line. I'm going to do it my way. I've never seen a player so self-absorbed, playing with rage to achieve these triple-doubles stats. He's a stat machine. But I'm not sure it contributes to winning, because I've never considered him a winning type player.
I just think the thing is, Mike Conley might be the second best fit behind Chris Paul of a guard that they can get. A guy that can handle, a guy that can, play in the pick and roll, a guy that can run the offense. Dennis
Schroeder was a miniature Russ to me. He has got that same kind of mentality, right? Where he's shoot first, think first, score first, and again,
Russ doesn't have an inflated. Russ is great. Russ has been an MVP. Russ is an all-star. Schroeder has an inflated view of himself, because he actually thinks he is Russ. He actually thinks he's a top-tier point guard. He thought he was the equivalent. Well, I need to start. I need to be in the starting lineup with LeBron, because we the backcourt.
I got it. Russell Westbrook would drive your man LeBron crazy. He just would.
I'm afraid
over time.
I'm afraid you're right, though.
But it's hard to believe we're saying this about a player on star power and star quality. He's at the top of the list, right?
But Skip, everybody doesn't fit in every situation.
They don't. Basketball is a fit game to me. You have to fit together.
Now, let's just say, for the sake of argument, Clint Capella somehow got to the Nets. Well, they're going to win the championship. because you got a guy that can challenge you at the rim and you can rebound. So now how do you stop him? That's what they needed. They just needed a big.
Okay, but they fit together in shocking ways because right away, Kyrie said, you be the point guard.
Right.
I'll be okay.
I don't know. But see, Skip, you're like, okay, well, put Joel Embiid with the Nets. Well, I mean, you got Joel Embiid, Kyrie. I mean, you only got one ball. How do you make all that fit? When you get a guy like you ain't got to run no sets for, like Capella.
I agree. Yep.
Look, I love Russ, but I just think
I love to watch him.
It would be a bad fit.
Yeah. Well, I hope it happens for you.
There you go. I think it'd be a great fit for the Clippers, though.
Yeah.
The Clippers, Paul George, Kawhi, Russ, that'd be a nice fit.
No mercy.
Tom Brady is set to turn 44 years old in 2 weeks, right as the Bucs will be getting underway with training camp to defend their Super Bowl title. But Brady doesn't see himself slowing down anytime soon, don't worry. After publicly saying he wants to play until he's 45 years old, now TB12 has opened the door to playing to 46 or even past that point, telling Jim Gray in an interview, quote, "It's more about am I at championship level as a quarterback? And if I am, I'm going to play and I'm going to compete because I love it." So, Shannon, we've speculated for years here at Undisputed, but now, how many more years do you really think Brady will play?
Well, Skip, I believe it's really important for him to reach that milestone that he set out there for 7, 8 years ago. He said, I'm gonna play until I'm 45. And he has a lot of other guys talking about playing to that age. You hear Russell Wilson saying he wanted to play until his 40s. Aaron Rodgers has mentioned playing until his 40s. Drew Brees says, and we saw what happened, Skip. I just believe until you get to year 10, I mean, I was at year 5, I was like, man, if I could just make it to 10. And then once I got to 10, I took it year by year. And I think that's what Tom Brady, although he has that on the horizon, 45, man, 45, play until I'm 45. That'll give me 23 years. I believe he takes it year to year. Skip, I believe Brett Favre was going to play again until he got hurt in year 20, and basically that ended it. And he's like, you know what? And it gets harder to come back from these significant injuries because if you look at all the injuries that he had played throughout his career to keep the streak alive, the separated shoulders, concussion, sprained knees, broken thumb, torn biceps. But it was in year 20, he had that separated shoulder, Skip, and it was like, you know what? I'm done. So I believe Tom, when he says that, 45 is the destination that I would like to arrive at. But it's going to be contingent on how healthy he is up until that point. Let's see how this year goes out. I believe if he comes out of it, even if they don't win the championship, if he comes out of this season relatively healthy, he's coming back. But if he has an injury, and I hope it doesn't happen, I don't know if he's willing to man, do I really want to rehab instead of train? Because for the most part, Skip, he's been able to train, and we saw the thing where he had a MCL tear. He had that repaired. But that was really the first time that I've heard of Tom having surgery in an offseason since 2008 when he had the knee? Well, that was during the season. But, he rehabbed that. Other than that, Tom, the season ends, he probably take a week or two down, and then he's back training, getting ready for the upcoming season. So I think everything is contingent on how healthy Tom is and how well he plays. But I do believe that 45, it means something to him because he put that out there. I believe Drew Brees would have played another year had his body not fallen him. Skip, his body Drew was playing well, Skip. He was in the MVP conversation. And then something happened. He took a hit, a routine hit.
And his ribs cracked. Yep.
A bunch of them.
Yep. Okay, so your gut feeling right here, right now, given health, if he has pretty to very good health.
He'll come back next year.
So you'll say this year and one more, and that will be it.
Yep.
So I hate to point out, for our viewers' sake, that we've gone now, we're getting into our
5 years.
5th year.
Yep.
That each year you've said maybe one more, maybe one more, maybe one more.
The one thing I was right about, I said it was going to be a last one in New England.
Okay, I'll give you that one. And because it was his last in New England, and because he has found football utopia in Tampa, with a team that is as talented as any other team in the league, you can make a case they are the most talented
Well, they're the most talented team he's ever been on.
Well, definitely that. But wall to wall.
Oh, absolutely.
Weapons, defense.
Yes.
It's pretty great.
Yes.
And it looks like it could last a little while.
Yeah.
And I loved what he said yesterday because he's so self-aware. His point yesterday was to Jim Gray, or this actually 2 days ago, he's saying, look, is my arm going to get stronger this year? No. Am I going to get faster this year? No. Am I going to be able to throw it farther this year? Although he did lead the league in air distance last year because of Bruce Arians' offense.
Right.
You know, it required him, it asked him to throw it farther than he was ever asked to throw it in New England. And I thought he threw it great. I didn't see any diminishing arm talent, but it's also not going to get better at 44 or 45.
Right.
So he's saying, I accept that. But the point is, he said, in the end, all I care about is, can I still play at a championship level at 44?
Right.
The big answer is yes, because I, for one, I will not be at all surprised if he wins MVP next year. He's going to be right in the middle of it because of the offense he runs and because of the weapons at his disposal. And I'm talking about the running game and the receivers.
Yep, correct.
And it's deep in talent. And again, their offensive line the other day, somebody was ranking offensive lines, and it was in the middle of the pack. And I'm like, I don't see it in the middle of the pack. I
think they took the totality of it, Skip, because he did get hit a lot early, but they shored it up like the last 5 weeks of the season, and then going into the playoffs.
Yeah, the ranking I saw was not high on Donovan Smith, the left tackle, or Kappa, the left guard. But remember, Kappa got hurt and didn't even play through the playoff run.
Well, Worth is their best offensive. Christian Worth is their best offensive lineman.
And
he's special.
I told you the other day, at some point, he will segue over to the left, I assume, and be the protecting tackle, the blindside tackle.
He's legit.
Okay, so given that, Brady is saying, I've actually been able to maintain championship level for a long time without getting any better, but I don't get any worse.
Correct.
And he said, I do that through my workouts, my recovery, my training. Okay? Has he not found some magic formula that works for him?
He said that. He says he hadn't gotten any worse. He hadn't gotten any better. What's the key to that? Injury.
Okay.
As long as you don't suffer an injury, you can stay there.
Okay.
Especially, and he hadn't had any major injury.
Okay, but he is on course. He's going to set the all-time sacks record because he's played so long.
He played 21 years. What do you expect?
But don't tell me he doesn't get beat up because that night in Chicago, Lord have mercy. That Thursday night game that they lost.
There are going to be games where he gets beat up, and then there's going to be games like the Super Bowl where he gets hit once.
Yeah. Well, Khalil Mack hit him a bunch of times.
Right.
And knocked him around. Right. And I still believe he was concussed at the end of that game when he was doing this.
As long as you don't have situations where you're getting the Chicago or you're getting the Rams.
Well, you can't have it
the Saints
consistently.
Right. You're getting battered at 44.
Okay. So then he concluded in these quotes. He's saying, look, I play because I love it.
Yeah.
Well, if you still love it, that's all that matters. That's the bottom line because he said, I love to compete.
Right.
Well, so do you.
Yes.
But at 35, 35, your body said, I can't compete for you anymore. No. I can't do this. And so if your body defies you and betrays you, as Drew Brees did, then you just say, okay, well, this is no fun anymore because it's not fun to stay hurt.
Skip, I loved everything about football except football at that point in time because I just couldn't do the meetings. Yeah, see, Tom loves the meeting. Tom loves like just rewind it. I like, man, I don't want to take any more film home and watch it. Right. I don't want to watch any more film at practice. I like, can I just show up to practice and play? And that wasn't an option. So the next best option was to leave and go to TV. But Tom loves everything. Tom loves practicing. Tom loves film study. He loves getting on the planes and having fun with the guys.
And now, key point, he has a coach he actually loves to be around because he's fun. Bruce Arians is just a lot of fun to be around, right?
And Skip, Tom Brady for the first time looks around and gets treated like the player he deserves to be treated as.
First time ever.
He's like, hold on. You mean to tell me I get to treat? He probably got a different parking spot, get close to the building. He gets privileges that he never got in New England, and he was there for 20 years, and he gets this after being there for 2 months.
Yep. So here's his concluding point to Jim Gray. He says, we shouldn't stop our life, even though we love something, because it's just someone puts an arbitrary timeline on it. Very true.
Right.
Just because no one's ever played to 44 or 45 at a high level.
Right, especially at a skill position. Blanda kicked till he was 48, but he was just a kicker.
Got it. We're just talking about quarterback.
Right. Oh, yeah.
Because there's the old the theme that quarterbacks back in this is like 20 years ago, that all the statistical, historical stats showed you that when you get to 38, you start to hit the quarterback wall. Well, obviously, he's way beyond that wall.
Correct.
So he's saying, I don't care what history says.
Well, hell, he's been to more Super Bowls after the age of 37 than any other quarterback has been to in their career.
So
you're talking about from 37 to 43, where he's at, as opposed to all the other quarterbacks in history.
Okay. So he's saying, don't tell me what's happened in the past, because I'm shattering this mold, because I'm happy, I'm committed.
Right.
I'm reasonably healthy. He got his knee fixed, and I do think it was sounds like it's a pretty serious injury. Right. And I have a really good team with a coach I love in an organization I really love.
Right.
And what's not to love about this? So to me, again, I'm going to knock on wood for him. Given health, I don't know why he couldn't play for 3 or 4 more years. Would it shock me if he played till 50? And again, you're going to laugh out loud at that. But would it shock me if Tom Brady played football at age 50? It wouldn't shock me at all, because he's found some way to generally be able to ward off the week-to-week soreness through his pliability or his diet, or however you want to say it. You can laugh at it if you want to, but it's working for him.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and you can do bands and tubings if you play that position. I don't recommend that for an offensive or defensive lineman. I don't recommend that for a linebacker trying to do banding and tubing and thinking you're going to play 10, 15 years.
Remember in his sessions in Montana, as we saw Tom versus Time, and they're all over Edelman and Amendola. They're going back and forth about don't lift weights, and Edelman says, do you know what I do? Do you know do you know the punishment I have to take?
Yeah, he wouldn't have lasted as long as he did just doing tubing.
No.
But I think, Skip, it's not people. It's the NFL. They've said, Coach Walsh had a saying, 10 years is about the time and do you start moving on from players. Quarterbacks, they said, okay, this time, and you start moving on. So the NFL, the teams set that guideline. It's not the fans. The fans want to see a guy, as long as you can play, they're like, okay, let's have him. But the team's like, nah, we think we start diminishing returns, and we're going to get off you a year early as opposed to a year too late.
Shannon, this man's going to haunt you for much longer.
Yep, like I said, I'd give this year and next year, barring injury. Hopefully that doesn't happen. I don't want to see him like Brett. Brett's had to stand on the sideline. He got hurt, Skip, and I want to see him finish out the starts and put that record out there that nobody's going to break. Nobody's going to break his career starts record. Because what is he at? Brett's at 297. I think he's about to catch him.
Tom Brady is watching right now, writing down in his little notebook. Shannon Sharpe says, I'll only play until I'm 45.
45.
You've been motivating him for the last couple years.
45 is good.
I guess we have you to thank at this point. Thank you so much, because all the time I can get. Oh, and I'm looking forward to week 4 when he goes back to Foxborough. That one I will be circling on. What a comeback there.
No mercy.
America's team is officially back as the Cowboys training camp is officially underway. Jerry Jones addressed the media yesterday and covered a bunch of topics, from his team's Super Bowl drought to Jimmy Johnson's pending induction into the Hall of Fame in 2 weeks. Jones got emotional when discussing Jimmy's short but sweet run with the team in the early 90s, explaining, he's a great coach, and I'm proud to have him as a friend and proud to have the times that we had. I've never been able to know why I bleeped it up. That's interesting to me. Shannon, what do you make of this?
Skip, no man is more reflective than a man that looks back and realizes he can never recapture what's lost. Jerry, you don't have to ask quite why you effed it up. You know why. Your pride, your ego. You wanted more credit than what you were receiving. And you felt Jimmy slighted you. You felt Jimmy demeaned you because he didn't.
In front of other staffers.
Yes.
And he did.
Skip, it's hard for me to believe that in the 21 years that Coach Belichick and Mr. Kraft has been together, there haven't been times that Mr. Kraft thought about firing Coach Belichick. He calls him Billy.
I agree.
It's hard to imagine that you can have 20 years. I don't know a marriage in which there's 20 years that at least one party thinks, hey, man, this ain't for me. And you stick together, you ride it out. Because that's just a rough patch. I'm going to put my pride aside, you put yours aside, we sit down and we say, okay, how can we make this thing work? Mr. Kraft, Coach Belichick, 6 times they did that, they won it. Would it have been 9? They won 6 of them. What did Jerry do? Jerry's like, you did this to me? This is my ish. You fired. See, but he started with Skip. You know, he had to get a couple of cocktails there. You know, Skip, that's that true serum. That's that true serum. You get that up there, you start talking. My grandma used to always say, boy, 3 people to tell you the truth. Drunks, kids, and angry people. Mm-hmm. Now, if you 2 of the 3, you definitely gonna spit the apple.
You are.
So Jerry,
he did.
Yeah, Jerry, man, at 500 that could coach this team to a Super Bowl.
Yep.
Really? You thought that, huh? I don't think, Skip, and people that weren't around, you were around. You talk about an NFL MVP 25 at running back, a top 3-4 wide receiver at 27, a top quarterback at 27. That's what you had. Charles Haley. You went out and got Deion Sanders. Offensive line, they were putting 3-4 guys in the Pro Bowl starters every year.
I still say it was the greatest offensive line ever.
Every year.
Yep.
And Jerry mucked it up. Skip, time. You can't buy it, and we never have enough of it. They say when his final days, Skip, he looks back, he never asks for more money. He doesn't ask for more vacation.
No.
He asks for time.
Yep.
And Jerry realized those 25 years that have passed since he last been to win that thing, Skip. He's like, what have I done? Skip, we do that, Skip. I don't know about you, but I have. I look back and I was like, man. But everybody think it's always better out there. Everybody's done it at least once in their life, Skip. Or I can go find me another you. Or I can find me another him. And then when you look back at it, you say, damn, I mucked this up. And that's what Jerry did. He mucked it up. He ain't recaptured. You ain't about to get no 6. You ain't about to get 3. What you had, 95, so he bought the team in 89. So in 7 years, you got 3 in 7 years. Now you forget that out your head, Jerry. You ain't about to get 3 in the next 7 years, okay?
But in year 5 and 6, you start to say, I can do this every year.
Because it's easy.
It's all because of me.
Yes.
I'm the boss. I'm the GM. I deserve at least 60% of the credit, and he was not getting it.
Right.
So I was there. I wrote books about this. I was in the middle of it. I saw it from the inside out. And I must tell you, I was shocked that yesterday Jerry confessed. That whole hour was like one long confessional. I'm going to unburden myself. I'm going to admit publicly, and he even used the word, I effed it up.
Is he okay, Skip?
I don't know. To use your point, he was having one of those days where he's facing his mortality. And he's going to turn 79 in October. But remember, the president of this country turned 79 in November. Right. So it's not like, and Joe Biden seems like he's going strong to me. Right?
Jerry, you're 79. I mean, okay. you right mind, you vibrant. I mean, you're getting around great.
But he's feeling it. He's feeling not only his mortality, but he's facing 25 years of basically ineptitude of trying to turn this team into a Super Bowl chip because they haven't even sniffed an NFC championship game in 25 years. So I think deep down he's saying, I've got to confess to our fans, I messed that one way up.
Yes.
And I'm sorry for that. Please bear with me. You know, like I'm still going to make it up to you. That's what he's trying to say. I still believe I can make it up to you, even at this advanced stage of my life. So I'll figure it out.
So you think we might get this in the next 2 years? Coach Belichick said I effed this up?
That would be interesting. I don't think it's going to be in 2 years. Because remember, this took 25 years or really 27 years to do this. But just for the record, I always thought Jerry had some strong points in his favor because, listen, you want to talk about stubbornly proud? He is.
Yes.
And 2 of the most stubbornly proud, hard-headed men I've ever been around are Jerry Jones and Jimmy Johnson. But do remember that Jerry did do some good things for that franchise early on. He did pull off the Charles Haley trade, and that was the catalyst for those Super Bowls.
Right.
And he did have some draft day decision-making that I thought helped contribute.
Right.
So he deserved a little bit of credit. But Jimmy looked at him as a wannabe, a guy who hadn't coached a day in his life. Remember, Jimmy Johnson started coaching in small-town high school, Mississippi, small town, and worked his way slowly up the ladder. Yeah. And he paid a bunch of dues. Oklahoma State, and he was at Oklahoma first, and then he was at Iowa State, and he paid a bunch of dues all the way up. He did it the hard way. And he reached the pinnacle thanks to his quote-unquote friend. They weren't really friends. They roomed together because alphabetical order at Arkansas, right? On the road. They were road roommates just because of Jones and Johnson, right?
Yep.
And Jimmy never really respected, he respected Jerry's drive and just sort of his charisma level. And, Jerry's self-made. He went out into oil fields and he struck it rich, and then he lost it all, and then he struck it rich again.
But Skip, here's the thing. Jimmy said, I'm burning the midnight oil. The coaches and I, we putting in 18, 20-hour work days. That is correct. And then all you doing is you could go and come anytime you want. I understand that you're signing the checks. And you think you should get equal credit for not equal work?
Yeah, and glory. He wants the glory.
Jimmy said no.
No. And so Jimmy, after a while, would insult Jerry in front of staffers. And listen, pride is huge.
Yeah.
And to your point, finally at a NFL meeting, I think it was in Tampa, the coaching staff was together in a restaurant, and they were toasting each other because they just won their second straight Super Bowl. And Jerry walks up to the table and proposed a toast to the Dallas Cowboys, to everybody. And so all the assistants click glasses except for the guy sitting at the head of the table, Jimmy Johnson. And he would not raise his glass. And so Jerry says, let me try that again. To the Dallas Cowboys. And Jimmy won't raise his glass. And Jerry wheeled and tore out of that restaurant in a rage and went right back to the headquarters hotel and saw two writers from the Dallas Morning News sitting at the bar and said, could you guys come over here? I got something to tell you. I'm going to fire Jimmy Johnson, and there are 500 coaches I could hire who could coach this team to a Super Bowl championship. And he picked the 501st coach on the list, Barry Switzer, right? But remember, he told a great story yesterday that Barry Switzer coached both of them at Arkansas. And I love Barry Switzer. I have high regard. I know he's done some crazy things in life, but he can coach. And that team played hard for him in '95. They loved him. They'd run through walls for him. But he said when he brought Barry in for the first interview, he's like,
where's Jimmy?
Where's Jimmy? What did you do? And Jerry says, he's gone. What are you talking about? And he said, well, I want to get both of you two little a-holes, and I want to sit you on this couch right here and ask you, how did you F this up?
Right.
Because that's a great question.
Yes.
How did you?
Because Skip, anybody that coached the game knew what the Cowboys were.
Oh, God. Yeah.
And so he's like, hold on. You got Emmett, Michael, Troy. You got this Haley. You got this young defense. And you going to fire him because of he wouldn't toast you? Or, I mean, really?
Yeah, and in the end, it just doesn't matter because Jerry admitted yesterday, it was my job to manage the situation. Yes. I was the overseer, right? I'm the owner-operator, so it's up to me to just grin and bear it and swallow some pride and just say, you know what? We might win 4 of these in a row, right?
Jerry, if you want to go toast something at your owner's meeting, get in front of the guys, you got the trophy, toast them. Why you try to go down with the coaches? They don't look. They didn't look at you like that. Now, Jimmy is a pride for 2. Jimmy is his own guy. The other guy, sure. And I'm sure he not fired Jimmy, Jimmy might have fired all of them because, hey, I didn't raise no toes. You don't do what I don't do.
That is true. You know what? Bingo. I would agree with that.
I've been around.
I mean, it's the owner,
And that's the thing. The one thing, and that's people like, well, how do you know? Because Jimmy was going to trim the fat. You were not going to get comfortable on Jimmy Johnson's watch. The moment he felt that you were not giving 100% effort and you weren't bought in,
I know.
You got to go.
Yeah, I agree. And yet, the saddest part about it, it's not like Jimmy did a Brady and went on and won several Super Bowls by himself, because he didn't. He was pretty good in Miami. He could have justified it if he... That's what I'm saying,
What Jerry could have justified it, Skip, if he'd have won 2 or 3. He's like, well, I was right. But, Skip, you can't go 26 years without even getting to a championship game, let alone a Super Bowl, and think that was the right decision.
And remember, Jimmy went and had I think they were 44 and 38. I mean, in the last 2 years, they did make the playoffs. But they won 1 playoff game in each of the last 2 years. But then remember, the inglorious end was at Jacksonville. 62-7. That's Dan Marino and Jimmy Johnson going out on 62-7 to Jacksonville.
But Jimmy never had that, Skip. The one thing, when Jimmy got talent, like he had it to you, he won. And that talent that he got in Miami, because he had just recruited a lot of these guys that was going to be in the draft. So he knew what he wanted. I want him, I want him, I want him, I want that. I need this, I need that.
I told you, I've never been around a coach who could create a force field like Jimmy Johnson could create.
You had to see it up close.
You did.
To believe it, to see it. Because we played him in 92. That was the first of the Super Bowl.
Yep.
That offensive line.
I remember that game as a night game at Denver. Did you play in that game?
I did. I was a fullback.
You're a fullback?
A fullback. Dropped that hammer on Ken Norton Jr.
Because Elway couldn't go, right? I don't think.
No, he didn't.
He didn't play.
It was an afternoon game, Skip. But you're right. That was Tommy Maddox and Sean Moore were alternating.
I thought it was a night game. I remember being up in the press box and it was nighttime.
We had y'all. Y'all drove down the field and beat us on the last second touchdown.
It was a close game.
Yeah, we had you. I thought we had you. But I'm playing fullback, number 81.
Really?
It was 81, 84. That was in 92.
31-27.
Yep.
No mercy.
Original Space Jam has spoken out against LeBron's new version. Joe Pytka told TMZ that it took him 5 different sittings to finish the new 2-hour movie and thinks it should have had a different title other than Space Jam. Pytka was also already on the record with Entertainment Weekly that LeBron doesn't have the same international celebrity status that some stars from the 90s had, saying, quote, Michael Jordan, Michael Jackson, Madonna, all 3 have this quality where people connect immediately without understanding anything about them, and nobody else has that quality. Interesting. Fox Sports NBA analyst Chris Broussard joining us now. Chris, should LeBron have tried to remake Jordan's movie, or maybe not?
Yes, and let's keep it real, Jen. He didn't try to remake it. He remade it.
He did.
And while I haven't seen it, I will admit those little clips look pretty interesting. But he remade it, and from what I see, the numbers, it's been a success. Because they were the #1 movie in the country on opening weekend. So it seems like people have taken to the movie. This guy is biased, and understandably so, right? He was the director of the first Space Jam. It's his baby. Of course, he's going to feel a connection to it and doesn't want anybody to mess with it unless perhaps he was involved. So I get that. But if you doubted his bias and how that colors these comments, he said that LeBron James was a top 20 player of all time. A top 20 player? Like, to me, you lose all credibility when you say, oh, he's a top 20 player. He's a nice player. How about top 2? All right, so cut off that 0. All right, this guy is biased. But let me say this, and Skip, you know this. I got to know LeBron pretty well, especially earlier in his career. And LeBron loves Michael Jordan. Like, some people think that LeBron does things that Jordan did out of, like, trying to overtake Michael Jordan or say that I'm better than Michael Jordan and all that. And, yeah, LeBron has stated he wants to be the best player of all time, but that's no different from all the players. That doesn't mean he disrespects Michael Jordan. Whenever you're at that level, shame on you if you don't want to be the best player of all time. If Giannis wants to be the best player of all time, that doesn't mean he's disrespecting LeBron or Michael Jordan. It's just a goal that everybody at that super elite level should have, and we know Michael Jordan had that goal as well. But LeBron has talked about how much Michael Jordan meant to him growing up. How he wanted to be like Michael Jordan. Mm-hmm. He wanted to inspire kids like Michael Jordan inspired him. He wanted to stick his tongue out like Michael Jordan, shoot the fadeaway like Michael Jordan, wear his knee brace like Michael Jordan. I've sat with LeBron. He has told me how he has watched tape of Michael Jordan religiously. And this is well into his career. This is after LeBron's won championships. And he's talked about watching Jordan, and not just the Chicago Michael, but Washington. He's told me how, man, I watched him score 51 against Charlotte when he was 38 years old in Washington. Like, he is not, does not have any negative feelings toward Michael Jordan. So when he wears number 23, when he redoes Space Jam, it's more out of respect. Because this was my idol growing up. This is a guy that inspired me. It's not to try to dismiss the memory of Michael Jordan or anything like that. So I think that's important to understand. Now, I'll say this. I think it would have been awesome if somehow LeBron could have got Michael Jordan in Space Jam 2. And I don't know if they made an effort or what, but that would have been really nice. That would have been awesome.
Well, they did get Michael Jordan.
Short of that, short of that, it's fine. I like what he did.
They had Michael.
I ain't see it.
He's the wrong guy.
The old Mike. Right.
Chris, they had Michael B. Jordan, and they asked him, was Michael A. Jordan not available? But I guess you're right. But Skip, I feel the same way you do, Chris, is that I think that this guy is incredibly biased. It's not LeBron wanted to make it Warner Brothers. LeBron could have gone to Warner Brothers all he wanted to. But if Warner Brothers does not want to make this movie is not going to get made. So Warner Brothers, and maybe you're right, maybe they wanted to go in a different direction as far as the director, and they chose someone else. But this is not uncommon. We've seen someone might do the first one and the second one, and then they come along and they do a trilogy, and someone else directs the trilogy because the director wanted to go in one direction, and the movie company wanted to go in a different direction. Oh, that's okay. But it just seems to me that it starts getting... If I don't like a movie... I'm not going to just well, that actor, he's not even a top 20 actor of all time, so I don't even know why he would want to even do this movie. I don't do it like that. I just didn't like the movie. But the kids liked it. The cinema score says they got an 81, which is an A- rating. So it seems to me, Skip, enough people that, okay, I understand the critics, but it seemed to me the kids loved it. It was a kids movie back in 96. Now all of a sudden, the adults. Man, no, stop. It's still the kid movies. The kids gonna love animation. They love cartoons. They love this movie. And only you and this jackleg would find something wrong with LeBron.
Jackleg?
Yeah.
He's the most famous producer and director of commercials there ever was.
Yeah, Nike commercials. Guess what? Hey, Chris, you didn't know that he did a lot of the Nike commercials with Michael Jordan?
How about Hair Jordan? Do you remember that one?
Oh, yeah.
H-A-R-E?
So there see, I wasn't going to even go there. I wanted to see, you see what I was doing? I was cooking, and I kept the lid on. I wanted Skip to open the lid so it spill out on the top. I wasn't going to even tell nobody about the commercials that he did. Yeah, that's what I wanted you to do. Go ahead.
Okay, is it my turn now? Finally, some objectivity has been brought to this show. So, what do we know about your man, LeBron James? We know that right out of high school, he chose to wear number 23, which happened to be Michael Jordan's number.
Pay homage.
And he chose to adopt, or should I say steal, Michael Jordan's pregame powder toss at the scorer's table. Did he not do that?
Yeah.
And
homage.
Homage?
Yeah,
okay.
Right.
That just screamed to me, I got next. I'm not only going to be you, I'm going to beat you. And his whole career has been an obsession with, if I can't do it, I'm going to convince the masses. I got 142 million followers on social media. I'm going to keep telling him I'm the best, that I'm beyond Jordan. And guess what? They're so gullible, they're going to believe me. And they're so gullible, they're going to tell the exit interviews after the movie that it was the greatest movie ever because I told them it was a great movie.
So they were plans. They were LeBron plans in there.
They're blind witnesses, all of them. You know what's going to happen? He can advertise it. They bombarded advertising for this movie. In this day and age, you can advertise. You can buy a movie into an opening weekend success.
That's what big studios do. What they do with Fast and the Furious.
Okay, I got it.
That's what they do. Skip, stop that.
Okay, all right. So I have warned LeBron again and again, don't try to be him or beat him because you cannot. And I love what Joe Pitka, the original director, said. There's never going to be another Michael Jordan. And I told you, I watched the movies back to back. Friday night, the new one. Saturday night, once again, I rewatched the old one. It is glaring how much better Michael Jordan was at playing Michael Jordan than LeBron was at playing LeBron. And that's what Joe Pick is saying. He's rare. He's special. He's Michael Jackson. He's Madonna in magnetism, in charisma, in on-screen presence.
Well, LeBron is today's Michael Jordan.
Well, don't do that. Just make him LeBron. If you want to just say he's today's LeBron, I'm good with that.
He is.
But you keep trying to convince me he's better. He's beyond Michael Jordan. He is not. Go watch the original again and tell me if it doesn't just ooze charisma because he takes it over. He is so cool. He is so comfortable. He is so funny. He is so in command of that movie. He is the centerpiece. He takes it over. over. He didn't need a Don Cheadle to be the villain because
Bill
Don
Murray
Cheadle
was in it.
Okay, but it's cameos. It's just cameos. It's fun cameos. Don Cheadle is an extraordinary actor. He is in Denzel's class in gift, in capability, in range. And you needed Don Cheadle to help carry a 2-hour movie, which is way over long. And I loved what Joe Pica said. It took me 5 sittings to watch the whole movie because it's endless. The basketball scene is endless.
But you notice what, Chris? This is what you never hear. The only difference between Kobe and Jordan is that Kobe didn't choose 23. He did everything identical, from chewing gum to sticking his tongue out, to putting the wristband on his elbow, to wearing the knee sleeve halfway down his leg.
And he was way closer to Jordan than LeBron ever dreamed of being.
Time out. Wore the baggy shorts. He even changed the way he walked to walk like Mike. He did everything. And that one time they criticized him. But even LeBron came here. He signed with the Lakers. Right. LeBron never said, I'm coming to replace Kobe. I'm coming to take over.
You better not say that.
People defaced the murals, and LeBron never said a word. So what I found out is that no matter what LeBron does, there's going to come a certain level of criticism, regardless of what he does. So LeBron has learned to accept that. Okay. So should you, his greatness.
No, LeBron suffers from delusional audacity. I'm going to remake Space Jam and make it even better. Don't do that. Make your own movie. Create a new, it's called New Legacy, right?
That's New Legacy.
Okay, New Legacy shouldn't be old movie.
Yeah.
Don't do that. Don't try to one-up him because you can't. You're not better. Well, yes, he did try, and he thinks he pulled it off. He said 2 years ago, that right there makes me the greatest player ever, that they came back from 3-1 down against Golden State. Okay. Well, he did that, but stop it. You're 4-6 in the finals.
He did that.
Yeah. Okay.
Go ahead, Chris.
Here's what Michael has over LeBron. And you talk about, like, the magnetism, people being drawn to him and all that. And I do think Jordan's the GOAT and LeBron's second.
Thank you.
But Jordan, the way people drew to Jordan, it was largely because his game was so graceful and beautiful.
Yes.
His game is just prettier than LeBron's. There's no doubt about it. All right? That's undeniable. And that is a huge attraction to Michael Jordan. I mean, obviously the greatness was there too, but just the way he played, the way he moved in the air, nobody could match it. So there's that. And then off the court, I mean, LeBron is a very gregarious guy. He's got an engaging personality. He's very likable off the court. And I think the only difference there is Michael made sure not to say anything really controversial, that because he wanted everybody to like him, to buy his products.
Correct.
Whereas LeBron has stepped out and said things that half the country may not like. And so that's a big difference. But this notion that Michael's personality just naturally drew people more so than LeBron's off the court. I'm not saying Michael he was great in the Hanes commercials and Gatorade and all that. I'm just saying more so than LeBron, I don't know about that. He just didn't take the stances that LeBron has. And in his social media era, we know a lot more about LeBron, his family, his personal life, his personal likes and dislikes than we knew about Mike. Mike was like hallowed on a perch because at that time, unless you were in the league or covered the league, you couldn't get to know a lot about the personal things about Michael Jordan like you can today with LeBron because of social media. So because he's not as familiar to us as LeBron is in his everyday life, that also can lead somebody to have that type of draw that someone you're more familiar with doesn't.
You know what, Chris? Nobody should do shoes. LeBron shouldn't do a shoe. Kobe shouldn't have done a shoe. Shaq. Nobody should have done a shoe because Jordan did it. Nobody should do commercials with a beverage company because Jordan did it. Nobody should do an underwear commercial because Jordan did it. Nobody should want to own anything because Jordan did it. Skip, people didn't stop trying to go to the moon and go to space because Neil Armstrong was the first to walk on the moon. They still send people up there, right?
He tried to remake and one-up a great movie. Called it the same thing. Why don't you just rename it? That's what this man said. Just call it a different name.
No, we can call it what we want to. You don't get to tell us what to do. You go film another commercial. Let me ask you a question. So was Godfather 2 trying to one-up Godfather 1?
They're the same franchise. It's the same. It's Mario Puzo.
What we did is that we took it in a different direction. We want to put family first. We family. We're all about the family. And what we're showing people is that what we need you to understand, it's not about you. Parents, it's not about you.
Yeah.
It's your kids' dream.
Okay, great.
What is it that they want to do? Help them achieve that.
So call it On Golden Pond.
Man, nobody call it on nothing. See, what if your daddy say, you know what, Skip Bayless? I want you to be a restaurateur. Yeah. I own a restaurant, and he push you to that. When your skill is writing, is journalism. What if he did that?
At 4 years old, I was forced to go work in that restaurant every single day, even during Christmas vacation, all the way until I was 18.
Nobody take no Christmas vacation.
I was forced.
Who take Christmas vacation?
I got paid like 50 cents an hour.
Oh, no.
I did.
You got paid?
I swept. I cleaned. I did it all the way from 4 to 18 because he forced me to.
Let me ask you a question. Did you eat? Did you eat at home every night?
Did I eat at home?
Yeah.
Yeah, well.
Okay, then. That was your pay. You got a bad sleep. That was your pay. That was the people told us back when we growing up, Chris.
Okay.
Hey, somebody, I love you.
That's old school.
Yeah.
And then finally, I won a scholarship to Vanderbilt, and I said, deuces.
No.
I'm out.
Oh, you said deuces.
Yeah, I said deuces.
What if you said, no, I need you to run the family business?
No, I'm gone. I'm way gone.
I very much respect your
He said
story,
deuces.
Skip. I do respect that. Okay, guys.
No mercy.
Sunday, the battle for the Gold Cup continues with the quarterfinals on FS1. Watch as Walker Zimmerman leads the U.S. men's national team and its young rising stars against Jamaica. Coverage begins Sunday, 9 Eastern on FS1 on the Fox Sports app. The Lakers are reportedly looking to upgrade their roster with a veteran point guard, and one name that has come up internally is Russell Westbrook. The purple and gold would need to work out a sign and trade to acquire the LA native and former MVP from Washington, and the team has explored if a deal centered around Dennis Schroeder, Kyle Kuzma, and THT and would do the trick. Chris Broussard still with us. Chris, would Westbrook work with LeBron and AD and the Lakers?
Not at all. That would be an absolute disaster. It's such a disaster that I can't even imagine it's real. I mean, has his name come up in discussions? They discuss all types of players. But no, and this is no, look, I've said it many a time. Russell Westbrook is going to be iconic. 25, 30 years from now, people are going to be talking about him like we talked somewhat about the Big O.
Yep.
This guy averaged a triple-double at 6'2", 6'3", for 4 seasons, 5 seasons, whatever it ends up being. But no, he is not a fit at all with LeBron James. Both of them are ball dominant. We know LeBron wants to get off the ball a little more as he's getting older. He's been off it a little more than ever with the Lakers. But the only way LeBron really is comfortable giving up those duties is if he feels like the other guy's a smart decision maker. Like, he would give him up to Chris Paul because he trusts his decision making. But Russ, that's not Russ's strength. Russ is not known for making the smartest decisions with the basketball. And then if LeBron has the ball in his hands, now Russ is not a spot-up shooter. He's not catch and shoot. Right, it would be a disaster. And Russ wants to play fast. He's best at playing fast. Even in the half court, he plays hectic. LeBron wants to play a slower, more deliberate game. And so this would not be a fit at all. Again, I can't put much credence into this at all. If they're looking at a veteran point guard, the one to be looking at is Chris Paul, not Russell Westbrook.
Yeah, and we talked about this earlier. Chris Paul would be a better fit. Mike Conley would be a better fit for the Lakers than Russell Westbrook. Kyle Lowry would be a better fit. Lonzo would be a better fit for AD and LeBron than Russell Westbrook. Now, I'm not saying these guys are better players. The two things can be true. Russ is the better player, but they're the better fit. And you mentioned catch and shoot. Only 11% of his shots last season came on catch and shoot. He shot 35% on those. Not just three-point on all shots.
Well, that's actually a little better than usual, right? Like maybe he should be a catch-and-shoot shooter. Right?
Well, as long as it's not from the three. Because he's a terrible three. He's only a 31% career three-point shooter. He shot 32% last year, 31.5. I just don't look. And you're right, Chris. Teams will discuss all different types of scenarios. Well, what do you think about this? Or what do you think about that? But then you realize, well, we probably shouldn't put Russ with AD and LeBron. If we can't get Chris Paul, let's look at Mike Conley. Let's look at Kyle Lowry. Malcolm Brogdon is not nearly the player that Russ is, but I believe he's a better fit for those two than what Russ would be.
Okay. I'll go this far. I would suggest that Russell Wilson would be a better fit than Russell Westbrook. And Russell Wilson doesn't even play pro basketball, right? But he is a quarterback, and he would distribute, right?
Yes.
Okay, so I want everybody to sit back for a second and understand all three of us are saying this would be a horrendously bad idea, and we're talking about a lock first ballot Hall of Famer in Russell Westbrook, who has done things statistically that even the Big O couldn't do, Oscar Robertson, because for the last 5 seasons, Russell Westbrook has averaged a triple-double. And 3 of the last 4, he has led the league in assists. And he's also a 2-time scoring champ and a 3-time total assist champ. And what's not to love except he's the ultimate solo act. I've never seen anything like him. And again, if he were the point guard for the Lakers, would I watch? Yeah. With the TV ratings they might even go up for the Lakers because everybody would be looking for the train wreck, right? But in the end, as great as he is statistically, he's just difficult to play with. Yes. And he is so ball dominant that he has often led the league or been the top 2 or 3 in turnovers and in usage because he's just going to have the ball in his hands way more than LeBron would be comfortable with. And all you need to know is the guy who I think is still the best player on the planet, Kevin Durant, had a 3-1 lead with Russell as his co-star over Golden State, and when they blew it, he chose to join forces with Golden State because in the end, he decided, I just can't win a championship with Russell Westbrook as my primary decision maker because Russ was dribbling the ball up the floor every time and choosing my turn or your turn. And finally, Kevin said, I just can't live with that. Well, neither could LeBron, neither could Anthony Davis, because even at 32 last year, he averaged 22, 12, and 12 and led the league in assists. But it would not fit with the Lakers because he's bull in China shop. He's so bullheaded. He's just going to try to run through the brick wall and make things happen that would drive LeBron out of his mind.
And he's owed $91 million over the next 2 years.
Yeah.
I look, like I said, I think he's a great.
But here's too,
Chris. But remember when he left Houston, he says Russ needs to be Russ. Now, if he's going to be James Harden went to the Nets and says, I can't play with the Nets like I played in Houston. Is Russ going to really adapt his game to that, Skip?
I don't know. I mean, there'd be a little chance that he would just because he'd get to go home and say, okay, maybe this is my shot here. Yeah. But I don't know. God, because
James Harden totally adapted his game.
I don't think he could adjust his game. He's not going to become a shooter.
Right.
If he's just out there kind of being a pedestrian point guard and running the offense, he's not going to be himself. Here's the category I put him in. And I use this word in the most positive way I can. He's like this spectacle. He's just an individual whirlwind. And I put him in the category with Allen Iverson and Pistol Pete Maravich. Both of those guys are iconic, right? Iverson, it took Larry Brown, an all-time great coach, to just say, look, I got to build this team around this unique player. Just a bunch of grinders, defenders, jump shooters, rebounders, guys who can't create their own shot and don't want to. And that's the only way we can win with Allen Iverson. And if you look at his career, that's really the only year he had any real deep playoff success. And then he goes to even play in Denver with Carmelo Anthony. They get beat in the first round. Then he goes to Detroit, and he couldn't adjust his game to play with those guys, and that's when his career began to fizzle. And Pistol Pete, I mean, again, he's iconic. We all know about Pistol Pete and how great he was, how flashy he was. But I had guys, former players, tell me, remember, he was named the top 50 player.
Right.
And I had one tell me he questioned that because he said, look at Pistol Pete. When he went to teams, they got worse. And when he left teams, they got better. He was an individual, amazing spectacle to watch. But did he really help teams win? And so I put, look, that's a good category. You're going to be a Hall of Famer. You're going to be a legend. People are going to be talking about you decades from now. But as far as winning championships, you would take a lot lesser players in many instances.
Real quick, I got to stand up for Pistol Pete just for a second because I saw him a lot in college.
Yeah.
He was a gifted passer.
Yes.
Now, he had alcohol issues when he got in pro basketball, and he was kind of a disaster. Mm-hmm. But he was much more gifted passing than Russell is.
Yeah.
Russell had to teach himself how to get assists.
Skip, it's about fit.
Yeah,
I mean, Chris Middleton and Holiday, they fit with Giannis.
I know. I got it.
I mean, it's not a good fit.
Yeah, and by the way, Russell Westbrook plays as hard as Giannis does on offense, but he doesn't play that hard on defense.
No mercy.
Well, while we were talking about the Milwaukee Bucs hoisting the trophy yesterday, the Tampa Bay Bucs celebrated their Super Bowl victory by visiting the White House earlier this week. Before giving President Biden his own custom jersey, Tom Brady took to the microphone in his first White House visit since 2005. Despite winning 3 other Super Bowls since then, Brady even cracked a few jokes about the similarities between himself and the Commander-in-Chief. Take a listen.
Not a lot of people, think that we could have won. And in fact, I think about 40% of the people still don't think we won.
I understand that.
You understand that, Mr. President?
I understand that.
Yeah. We had a game in Chicago where I forgot what down it was. I lost track of 1 down in 21 years of playing. And they started calling me Sleepy Tom. Why would they do that to me?
Shannon, why do you think Brady made his first White House visit since 2005?
Skip, he's really close to this team. He speaks about how much he enjoys being in this locker room. They spoke about how Tom came in and it was like, that's Tom Brady. But damn, he hanging around, he talking, he carrying on just like he's one of us.
Yep.
And I think that was the thing that Tom's like, there's no way I can speak in such glowing terms about how close we are as a team. And the first time we win the Super Bowl, the ultimate camaraderie that we have is an opportunity to go to the White House together and I not be in attendance. So he showed up. The thing that I hate the most is that he spent 20 years in New England because he robbed me of an opportunity to see this side of this man.
That's true. I agree.
I hate that.
Yep.
Because now we're starting to see that he is charismatic. He does have a personality. He does have a sense of humor.
Yep.
He's just not Gattaca, this robotic thing. We just try to get better. We come out here and we work hard. No, come on, Tom. It's more than football than that. And he alluded to it last year. What I've learned from being in Tampa is that there's more than one way to win. You can win and have fun. Everything doesn't have to be drudgery. And I like it, but it's not an accident that he didn't go the last 2 times, considering the guy that was in the office, considering that what transpired, he knew that was a combustible situation. And who knows, he might have even called President Trump, he might call him by his first name or whatever. It's not a good situation for me to be in. Yep. So I'm going to gracefully sit this one out. But I'm glad he attended with his teammates. And I don't, go or not go, Skip. I never went. Had 3 opportunities and I never went. Because it didn't make sense for me to fly from Atlanta to Denver, get on a plane, fly to D.C., fly from D.C. back to Denver, get on the plane to go back home. I was training. And so I wish them well. I'm glad them guys called the game. Man, y'all have a good time, man. It was a good time, Sharp. Wish you could have been on that.
It would have been a life experience, though. Just one time to go?
Nah, my life was football.
Okay, all right. I buy that, and I agree with that. So I think Shannon Sharp just admitted publicly he's starting to like Tom Brady just a little bit.
I always liked Tom Brady. I just like seeing different sides of him, not the guy that just stands up there and give me cliches and coaches.
Well, he's talked recently about how he works at cliches, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
That he only tells you about 10% of what he's really thinking.
Okay. So what I heard certainly in the soundbite we just saw, and when he said it a couple of days ago, was, first of all, he poked a little fun at our current president while making fun of himself.
Yes.
Sleepy Tom, Sleepy Joe, and all that, right? So he sort of got away with that. He was trying to be even-handed because then he comes with a shot at Donald Trump.
Correct.
The 40% shot. 40% of the people don't even think we won the Super Bowl, right?
Yeah, Mr. President, right on cue.
So you and I have there you go. And we here on the show, we've talked about this for several years, but I believe Tom Brady has been irritated to the point of being troubled, even haunted by the fact that he was associated with Donald Trump once he won office.
Correct.
Because obviously Tom says, I was his golf buddy because he asked me to play golf, just as he's asked many of the professional athletes to play golf with him.
And some
go. But it started for Tom back in 2004.
Right.
Do I think he had fun playing golf with Donald Trump? I do.
Right.
But then Donald Trump clearly, or somebody in Trump's camp, asked him, could you put a MAGA hat in my locker? This is well ahead of the 2016 election.
Correct.
And he probably a little naively, gullibly, put the hat in for his golf buddy, Donald Trump. And he lived to regret it because then he was associated with Donald Trump politically. And Donald Trump became a figure politically that Tom Brady wanted zero to do with.
Correct.
So I believe he took this opportunity in the Biden White House to take a shot that will, I think, burn whatever bridge was left to Donald Trump. I don't think Mr. Trump will like that.
Right.
Former President Trump will like that.
I think the thing is, Skip, is that Tom is not political. He's not, he doesn't think of it in terms. He doesn't watch it like a lot of people do. It definitely doesn't watch it like I do. So it was easy for him to distance himself.
Yep.
So he's like, I'm really not that big, so I don't really need to. Why do I need to take these blows for what? I'm cool. And we play golf again, fine. If we don't, that's fine also.
Yep.
But at that point in time, Tom is just like, I don't know if Tom thought he would get the blowback. I mean, even, Skip, it's hard for you to even wear a red hat now, even if it doesn't have MAGA on the front.
Agreed.
Just red is associated with him.
I agree.
So, but I was just so happy to see Tom there front and center. And I think, because I don't know, you would have to go back and pull the tape, but it's like, this was like Tom's moment. Tom, like he had the mic, he's just walking around walking around.
It was like his coming out party. Yeah.
Yes.
Right. Where he was doing a little bit of stand-up. And he's become more and more prominent on social media. I think he has a social media director who helps
he definitely has a team.
Suggest different concepts that are very clever and creative. And it's getting a little better by the post.
And plus the thing is, Skip, is that Tom now, he feels he can be himself. He's always, I thought everybody was like in New England, everybody said the same thing. It was the same thing. You ask Gronk something, he was going to say what Brady said, and he was going to say what Matthew Slater said, and Matthew Slater was going to say what this guy said. And so now he gets up there and he's like, oh, this is who I am. I do like to have fun. I do like to crack jokes. A lot of his teammates have said that Tom has a great sense of humor. He has a great personality. Well, we just never saw that because I guess that wasn't allowed in New England.
No.
Now we see Tom, he up there cracking jokes, and he out there on social media. He getting at Aaron Rodgers doing the match and what it was called, DeChambeau. So we get to see a different side of Tom that I wish I could have seen 10 years ago.
Okay, but I think Tom would be the first to tell you that would not, if he had tried to be the real Tom Brady, it wouldn't have worked.
Oh, no, not New England.
Right?
No,
that's why I always tell you, you say, what if Aaron Rodgers were playing for Bill Belichick? I don't know that he could last under Bill Belichick. I don't know if he could stomach it after a while.
Well, Tom got Subway commercials. What do you think Coach Belichick and Tom in one of them commercials together?
No.
No mercy.
The most anticipated reunion of the summer is here as John Cena returns home to SmackDown. Plus, live from Rolling Loud, Miami, Bianca Belair battles Carmella, and Big E takes on Apollo. It's the summer of Cena on Friday night SmackDown, 8 Eastern, only on Fox. So, the Bucs are coming off their first championship in 50 years, but if you ask Kevin Durant, it won't be their last. Speaking ahead of Team USA's Olympic debut, Durant went on record that Milwaukee could be the team to beat for the near future, saying, quote, Milwaukee is forming somewhat of a dynasty with that team. I know it's the first chip, and a lot of people call you a dynasty after a few, but the continuity of that team is something that's impressive in how they continue to build and add, and now they're champions, and you can appreciate that. Shannon, what do you make of Katie saying this?
Katie, if James Harden is healthy and Kyrie Irving is healthy, do you still believe they have the pieces to be a dynasty?
Milwaukee?
Yes. No. Kevin Durant does not believe they would have beat them if Harden and Kyrie is healthy.
Definitely.
So we're not even having this discussion.
Okay.
A lot of people believe because Joel Embiid was hurt, Trae Young ended up getting hurt, Kawhi got hurt on the other side, Donovan Mitchell missed game, Jamal Murray missed game. Skip, it's hard for me to see after one, and we're talking about a dynasty?
Okay. Remember where Kevin is right now. He's in Tokyo as the clear-cut, the leader of our Team USA. And he is becoming a little more, in his mind, of an international basketball ambassador.
Okay.
I think he's trying to be on his best behavior and trying to be a little less controversial as he usually is.
You said that was a heck of an accomplishment. Okay. Giannis played unbelievable.
But remember, there was a qualifier in there because he was trying to say the nicest thing he could. They're becoming somewhat of a dynasty. Well, what is somewhat of a dynasty? I don't know. That's not a dynasty.
Yeah.
Well, he knows full well if a centimeter of his toe had not been on the line, he made one of the great clutch shots in the history of the playoffs.
I believe he believes if James Harden is healthy, Kyrie's healthy, I won't even need that shot because we're going to beat you 4 straight.
Okay. Well, he also knows that basically by himself, he almost beat them in 7 games, right?
Yes.
But he's trying to make a point that on continuity, they are something. And I'll buy that because, hey, are they not set up because of contracts? They're paying a lot of money to 3 players, but they are in the fold.
Yes.
They are guaranteed to be yours.
We got these on our rep. And here's the thing, Skip. You got Giannis, who's the superstar, clear-cut guy. But Chris Middleton is the closer. Yeah. And Giannis has no problem.
Okay, so that fits.
Yes.
And Drew Holiday fits on both ends of the floor. You don't talk about a perimeter defender. He changed the series by what he did to Chris Paul defensively. Yes. So you have 3 of them.
Right.
And because of that, does that not make you a perennial or, like the next, let's do 5 years contender in?
Yeah, they're going to be contenders, but I don't think that Skip, I don't even know. I mean, winning back-to-back might be a thing of the past. In football, it's almost non-existent that we get back-to-back champions. We've seen, there's only been a handful of teams, probably less than 10 in the 50-plus year history to win back-to-back because it's so hard. Now, we've seen it more in basketball, Skip, but the way teams are gearing up and the movement that we have, I believe it's going to be harder and harder for teams to win 2 in a row. Now, 3, I don't see anybody doing what Shaq and Kobe them last did, 99, 2000, 2001. I don't even see that happening, Skip.
Unless the Clippers could stay healthy.
All right, stop. See, there you go. Now, you know good. Hold on. The Clippers
they got to their first conference final
in
ever.
50 years.
Ever. Yeah. Beautiful.
And now you talking about they're going to be a dynasty? Win 3 in a row?
But I'm loving this new KD, the leader, the spokesman, the ambassador.
Now, see, LeBron has said that. That's not what you're saying. Why is LeBron suck it up? What LeBron has found out that he's a thing of the past. Giannis is the new guy on the block, and he's trying to take attention away. That's what you would have said.
Who are you talking about?
Goat James.
Oh, Lagon. Oh, that guy.
I know who you're talking about.
Why isn't he playing for Team USA?
Hold on, time out.
Well, come on.
You want the man to go over on the bum angle.
So he sacrificed Team USA for a movie?
Skip, the movie was Skip. Now, you know that man shot that movie a couple years ago
He
now.
did. Yeah, he did.
You didn't say that about...
But this was the opening.
Hold on. What about Jordan? He shot during 96. Why did he go to the Olympics in 96? He shot Space Jam 96, and they were playing the Olympics right there in Atlanta. He wouldn't have had to go nowhere. He just stayed in the state. Why did he do that?
He wasn't playing basketball.
Yes, he was.
He was playing baseball.
Skip, he came back in 95 and lost to...
We're wrapping it up because the Cowboys have their first practice today in Southern Cal.
No mercy.
Speaking of those Cowboys, they opened their training camp in Southern California yesterday and will be the first NFL team to get on the practice field this afternoon. But let's not forget that this year's Super Bowl will also be held in Southern California, just down the road at SoFi Stadium in Inglewood. So, Shannon, What are the odds the Cowboys go from being the first team to practice to the last team playing in LA Super Bowl in February?
They say the most useless currency is a penny with a hole in it.
Really?
I wouldn't bet that the Cowboys make it to the Super Bowl.
Really?
Yeah.
It's symmetry. Oxnard to L.A. for the Super Bowl. We get the head start.
Y'all gonna fly over L.A. headed back to Dallas, and that's the closest y'all gonna come back to California.
Might just helicopter.
Do y'all play anybody? Do y'all play one of the teams in California?
Do we?
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know.
The Chargers. Okay, y'all will be back. Y'all play the Chargers. That's the only time y'all gonna see the building.
That's the only time we'll be back.
Yeah.
So Fox Bet says my Cowboys are 12-1 to win the NFC, which would obviously get them to the Super Bowl, right?
Yeah.
I think my team is a little better than that.
I don't.
I'm going to make them 10-1 to win the NFC because the offensive line will stay healthy and it will be extraordinary.
The last time the Cowboys win the Super Bowl, Dak was 2.
Yeah.
The gallon of gas was $1.22.
None of that matters. None of that matters.
Gas is
This year
$5.10 now.
matters.
Y'all,
Dak is back,
Dak is back.
right? And my defense has to be better.
Oh,
you
and
know
by the
good
way,
way y'all not
guys,
going to no Super Bowl. Why you do that?
It's also Zeke's birthday
10 to
today.
1.
So happy birthday, Ezekiel Elliott, 26. Cowboys back in action today. Undisputed. Skip Shannon.
There's
Great
19
stuff
more.
today. Colin, enjoy your next with the Herd. Have a good one.